talking about the emotional roller coaster of being right but wrong in this video. So stay tuned. What's going on, guys? It's Sunday. I'm sitting here looking at some charts, looking at some crypto stuff, thinking about life, thinking about day trading, going over some of the things that went down on Friday, trying to figure out what I did wrong, how I can do better, and all of that fun stuff. And I talked about this a little bit on Twitter and stuff. I talked about how even when you're right, you're wrong, if that makes any sense. So like FLEX on Friday. Was I right? I mean, the end of the day, the stock closed at $13. I shorted at $13.50. I was right? But I was wrong. So, in the bigger picture, this stock squeezed from $13.50 up there to almost $15. You can see it gap down, massive gap down there from the $16 area, bounced off the 13s. You can't really see what happened pre-market after hours, but there was stuff going on pre-market, had some resistance. But once the market opened, it squeezed. This is the 5-minute chart. You can see how in 10 minutes it went from $13.25 up there to $15. And then, it crashed back down. It went lower later on. But, this is a hard one. It's a hard one to really eat for the sheer fact of like, man, I was right. I had the right idea. I analyzed the news. I saw that it had bad news. I saw the bad news. I read the bad news. I had a plan, but still, I was wrong. Or was I right? Honestly, it doesn't matter if I was right or wrong at this point. It's more just the fact of looking at this now and being like, wow. Obviously, I could have traded this a lot better. What could I have done better? Obviously, I had this big gap down, so there's this big just kind of wiggle room here. This big gap, no resistance really in that area, just gap down. And it squeezed up there to $15. I shorted on this first candle here at the $13.50. I covered at $14, and then I shorted again at $14.20, thinking we might pull back down. And I ended up getting out for like a $300 loss on the day on FLEX. And you can see, later on, this thing really just went down. It was clearly just trending lower here. But, if I was trading this now, maybe looking at it like this, I could look at it like, okay, this is this triangle here. And I can draw some lines here and try to really figure this out. But, really, there was just no way of looking at this in the moment and knowing, it was going to end up lower later on in the day. Shorting here at the $15 area, getting this pullback down to $14, anybody would have been happy with that. I would have been happy with that all day, every day. Yeah, but I was just too early to the party here. I talk about this a lot, actually, being too early to these trades. Was this a good trade? Was this a good trade shorting there at the 1440 area? Beautiful. That does not get any better than that. Really just seeing, could you have timed that perfectly? Would you have been able to wait for that exact moment? It was at 10:30, so if I wouldn't have traded all morning and then I would have seen like, okay, here's this last spike up there, 1440, it can't break above there, I'm going to short there. That's some serious discipline, that's some serious mental fortitude to be able to, ride through this whole move here, having this whole thing happen here, and then having it drop on you. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. It's easy to look at this chart now. I see a lot of people commenting on the video, and they're like, oh, why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? Or why didn't you see this? Why didn't you see the trend there? And it's like, yeah, it's easy to look there 20 minutes later and be like, yeah, that was a bad move. But really, looking at this now, it's like, oh, and it went from, look at this, from $15 closed down there at $12.97. So I was right. I read the news. I saw the news on this stock. I saw the move. I was ready to execute. I executed a plan, but ended up, it wasn't the right plan. Maybe the better plan would have been to buy the dip, sell the rip, but who would have really known that the stock had bad news like it did? It just wasn't good stuff going on, thinking, it's got all this bad news. Why would the stock go up? But obviously, there was a massive short squeeze that went from $13 to $15. So nobody really could have known that was going to happen. I don't think really anybody could have known that would happen. It's just one of those freaky things. It's been a couple days of sitting here reflecting, analyzing, trying to figure out what I did wrong. At the end of the day, it's just that old saying, even when you're right, you're wrong. Trying to mentally digest that, trying to mentally tell myself, Patrick, this is just part of it. Day trading, you give and you take. You got to win. You're going to lose some. You're going to win some. But the whole goal really is to make your winners bigger than your losers. But lately, It's just been like a battle. It's been a serious battle. I feel like I've had some good winners, but I haven't let my winners run enough, or I've had some losers that I've just got caught in, like this trade here. I mean, that was just a freakish move. It just went crazy. I almost lost 1,000, but I only ended up losing like $300 on that trade. So it wasn't a massive loser, but still, mentally, it's like, man, this could have been a very, very bad trade. And again, it's just going back to that mindset of like, oh, how am I going to know that this is not going to happen in the future? If I see bad news, if I see a stock's got bad news and I'm reading the news, I'm like, oh, this stock's going to go down. It's got bad news. It's not looking good. Everything about the stock says short it. So how do I know in the future what I should do differently after reading this news and analyzing it the way that I did, and then just kind of living with that emotion of knowing that you were technically right. I was technically right here on this trade. The execution was just wrong, or the timing is wrong, but overall, I mean, that's still, a 50-cent drop from my original entry. And if I would have got a little bit higher there, $14.50 here, that's a $1.50 drop. So overall, the trade, the idea was sound. It was a good idea, but the actual execution was what really just did not work out. I think the one big thing that I learned from FLEX on Friday was, if I'm going to short like I did, if I'm going to short, I'm going to get out there, it's going to break, I got to get out and I got to be done with it. I can't short it again and try to, revenge trade it or try to force a trade. I need to just short it. I need to analyze and figure out what I did wrong, what I need to do for the next trade, see if there is another opportunity, but not just be like, oh, I'm going to short it one more time. It's going to crash. It's got to crash. Because I think a lot of times that mentality, like you think you get stuck in this, like, oh, it's going to crash. It's got to go lower. It's going lower. I know it's going to go lower. But who knows? Who knows? FLEX could have went back to $18. And who really knows at the end of the day? Was I right? Was I wrong? Does it really matter if I was right or wrong? I don't think I guess it really does not matter if I was right or wrong. At the end of the day, it's just all about the P&L, profit, baby. And, FLEX got me on Friday. And I'm ready for Monday here. I'm ready to see what opportunities arise Monday morning. And I'll be ready. And that's part of the process. So really, the moral of the story is there's no right or wrong. At the end of the day, it's just about taking trades and understanding that you're going to be wrong sometimes. There's going to be trades that just are not going to work out. And you just got to keep on keeping on. That's part of the process. I'll talk to you guys later on.